This video is on putting MX5 seats into a Suzuki Jimny. We had some issues with cameras and lost most of our footage, so this is sort of a bit cobbled together with clips from other sources, conjointed. We'll start by removing the seat from the Jimny. Remove the plastic covers over the bolts, 2 at the front and 2 at the back. With the covers off, it's simply a question of removing the bolts and pulling the seat out. With the seats out the car, the first thing to do is remove the plastic trims from either side.
So that comes off and then up through there.
Yes.
Right, there's a Phillips screw in there and a Phillips screw in there. Take those off, that comes off. Then on the under side of the seat, there's a bolt there and a bolt there. We remove those. So the next thing I think we need to do is remove those two to take that off.
Undo the 2 bolts on either side of this backrest and it simply will pull off.
Right, this is the Jimny base as it sits in the car. That width there is 300mm, which is exactly the same as the MX5 base. That depth is 240mm and the MX5 base is 300. So all we probably need to do is make something to extend onto there to get the seat mounted. But the problem we're going to have is we need to leave that because someone's cut the seat belt mount off the MX5 seats, and we're going to need to remove these because the MX5 seats, it's all integrated. So what we now need to do is actually measure the physical width and depth to see whether the MX5 seat will actually sit in this cradle. Hopefully it will.
To remove the backrest mounts on the seat, you need to drill out these rivets.
On the Suzuki mounting frame, this fouls on the adjuster, so what I'm going to do next is cut along this line so that it'll fit there.
We lost the footage of removing the rails from the MX5 seat, so if you look at this picture, it basically shows where they are.
What we need to do now is separate this bit, which is the bit that bolts into the MX5, so we can reuse it from the slider. So to release this, what I did, you have this rail bearing here, slide it up so it's resting on that, push that in, and if you hammer on that with this supported, then what happens is the bearing will actually come free. You can then take it out. You repeat the same on the other side, and then we can just separate this piece. Pull it past the bearing. There's a little carrier, and then when it's clear, put the bolt in and hit that bit with a hammer. Once we've done that, you can slide this off, and we've separated the 2 pieces. The bit we want is this bit with the seat adjuster on it, and also this bracket. So the next job is to cut these 2 bits off. Right, now we've separated them, these are the bits we need to reuse. Next job is to clean up where I've cut it off, the other brackets, to make it nice and smooth. Right, we've got the rails bolted to the seats. This is a dry build, I've had it in the car and it fits. I've run out of M8 nuts, so it's a bit hodgepodge, but you can see what I've had to do. That's the original MX5 runner. I've welded a plate on here. If you don't have a plate, you could possibly make bolt holes through. I've welded a captive nut under there to secure that, and you can see I've re-drilled the hole further inbound. At the front, I've extended by 60mm between those two bolt centres because my son's 6'3", and drilled a hole there to bring that closer together. I will probably weld that when it's all done properly, give it an extra bit of strength and weld that into there. Again, you could probably do it with bolts. The only thing I've done on this side which is different is I've had to clearance this to clear the actuator for the rails to go back and forward. I'll weld this in place, I think, and I'll also weld a tab in here just to give it some extra strength. I've got to make the bracket here to hold this side on, which I'll do tomorrow when I get some nuts, and that's about it. Obviously it needs painting and sorting. Remove these hob rings, leave the ones on the back where they are. You don't need to separate them, that will only cause you more problems. And relieve them with pliers, give them a twist. On this one, there's actually two. One there. One there. Peel this back. See this side where it's got damp, the foam is stuck, so I just need to separate it without tearing it. There we go. Until we can get it down like this. Right, if you want to come round.
Okay.
Right, what we're going to do is the first thing is to chop this race section off, and then I'm going to trim up here, along, and then down there, and scoop out some from here to reduce the height underneath your your thighs. This is the one out of the driver's seat, which you can see is the same pattern. That's the hump at the top, and this is the other bits I scooped out. If you show it from the side, you can see how thick it is. You can see the thickness of it. Now we did this slowly and carefully, doing it in small stages, putting the seat back together, back in the car, until we got the seating position exactly right. You could take this completely out of the seat, but then you're opening yourself up to more problems when you go and put the seat back together again. So whilst it's more of a fiddle to cut, it means you're not disturbing parts of the seat structure that you don't want to disturb. Oh, careful. I'm just going to cut up here and up here. And up to not going too mad at the front. Right. Then we're going to use cable ties. If I get my hands through. Cable ties to hold it all back together again. Not going to do them up tight yet. I'm starting at the corners. So you can see we now have a gap here, so when you sit on it this will all compress down, and then I've just put cable ties around to hold it back on. Right, with these you can spend hours undoing this and then forgetting how it goes back together again. All you need to do to release it is bend it to clear the gap, then give it a bit of a pod there, and then it'll just pull out. And when you push it back in again, it locks in. Top tip.
Right, these are the finished rails mounted on the seat, which hopefully are self-explanatory. We had camera issues when we made the videos and we lost lots of footage, so having to redo this. One thing you can see, or one thing I should suggest I should say, is I've extended the rails at the front here because my son is so tall and he needs the seat to go far back, so it might be prudent to extend them at the back here and extend these bits rather than bits at the front. Right, here you can see the seats pushed all the way back, and they obviously can go an awfully long way forward. So much better than the original Suzuki seats, and if you're freakishly tall you can actually sit lower after the foamectomy.